That's where it's going to be. We're learning together.
Okay. All right. Nicholas, can you hear me?
Nope.
No.
I can tell by the look on his face.
Wait. Can you hear me, Nicholas? No? Technology. What does that say up there? All right, Nicholas, can you hear me? Are you muted? It's not me? All right, Nicholas, can you hear me? Nope.
Every time it's a new background for him.
Yeah, he moves from room to room.
That looks promising. Nicholas?
You hear us? No?
Somebody want to call him?
You could text him or something.
You got him? All right, let me see if something's wrong on his end, because we need him. Drink your water.
Hey, Cassie.
Yeah, hi.
Oh, now we can hear
Now we can
you.
hear you. We couldn't hear you before. Can you
We
hear
can-
me now?
Can you hear us?
You're muted, I think.
Are we muted?
Are we muted, Glenn?
The host, I see host is muted.
He sees host is muted.
It's not the host, it's the board meeting room, that drives the audio out of here.
So how do we,
How do you fix that? Huh?
There's nothing for you to fix.
so he can't, if the only way he can talk
But
is
he
through
heard
the
us
phone?
last time. Yeah, he
Yeah.
heard us last time. So,
All right, are you hearing me now through the phone, Nicholas?
Yeah, I can hear you,
You just, we can hear you
but
when you,
not through my computer.
yeah.
Can you see us?
Yeah, can you see us?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, he can see us, he just can't hear. I'll leave my phone on then. Maybe that's the best way.
Can you put him up there, Glenn, too?
He's going to put you on the big screen.
But I think you have to unmute yourself there.
How am I? Oops.
oh, so there's going to be a problem with the cell phone. There'll be a problem with the cell phone, guys. It'll cause feedback.
And there's no mute button on these.
You're going to have to turn that off otherwise.
Okay. All right, so if I turn off my phone, he should still be able to hear me. All righty. Let's see what happens.
I want to announce through your phone because he's hosting.
Oh, yeah. All righty. I'm going to turn off my phone. Glenn says you should be able to hear us.
Okay.
Okay? I
He
hope.
looks skeptical.
Can you hear me? No,
No, he can't
That's
hear.
so
he
weird.
can't hear me.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
All
we
right,
can-
yeah. You know what, he can't hear, I can hear him, we can hear him.
Yeah.
And this doesn't mute on its own, each one of these individually
No.
doesn't mute.
The sound levels for y'all going out. I heard y'all's mics are hot.
Well, okay. I guess I have to call him to, because we need him
don't-
to be able,
sometimes people who zoom in forget to turn on the audio. Is it possible he forgot to turn on the audio?
Oh. He can't hear us. Yeah, we can hear you, oh, we can't hear. That little red, he's muted. All righty. We can hear you when you talk,
Oh,
but
I
you
see.
can't hear us through the microphone or anything, correct?
No, can you?
We can hear you.
Like I said, I just hear, you can hear me through the computer or through the Zoom meeting or through
No,
microphone?
we can hear you
Zoom.
through we can hear you through the computer.
Oh, okay, I can't hear you via. the
Okay,
Zoom meeting.
when it comes,
I'll mute, oh,
I was going to say, when it comes to some of these things that you're going to talk about, I'll just wave at you, and we should be able to hear you,
yeah,
as we
I'll
go
mute
down.
the audio on the Zoom so we don't get feedback and all that.
Okay,
so.
thanks. Like your new look.
Cassie, we haven't asked him if he's got his speaker turned up on his computer.
Is your speaker turned up on your computer?
The
Yeah.
volume.
He's
Check
going
the
to
volume.
double check. Oh, you got us now?
He muted himself
All right, I'll wave at him when we need him.
when he muted himself.
Technology.
Is he hearing you through the phone or through?
No, through the computer.
Okay.
I can hear you now.
Okay,
Oh,
there we go.
yes.
Okay, we're,
All righty, all right, let's move before it ends. Like the new look.
Good thing we're a
Nicholas.
broadband company.
You're the executive director, IT guy. I just want to say, Nick, like your new look.
Oh, thank you.
Very nice.
Okay, we'll call this meeting on the 19th of May to order. First order of business is public comment. If you want to make a comment, there's a little sheet.
Good afternoon. I'm Chuck Rusnak. I want to thank the authority for posting the minutes. They were very helpful and complete, and I appreciate that. On May 18th, yesterday, we met with, Wally Dawson and I met with Jeff to get an update on the Pending Care Trial Act. He advised that due to technical difficulties, that he could not provide a date for the trial. And he also said that he would cover that in today's meeting. During the discussion, he also advised that certain areas within the approved CARES service area might not be able to receive the service due to lack of coverage from the tire. He advised that he would cover that in the meeting also. The question I have is if a qualified underserved resident of District 1 and District 2 is denied service, what is your appeal process for the denial of service? And I have just one housekeeping item since the agenda is already posted, and we appreciate that also. It will be available to get his contact information, the executive director's contact information.
That's on the website now, too.
It is,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You'll
thank
see
you
it
very
under his
much.
name on the homepage.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks, Chuck.
Chuck, one follow-up question. When you say if a consumer is denied service, you're talking by the Internet Access Service Provider, correct?
ETS denies a qualified CARES customer service. What is the approach to it?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. All right, move on to approval of minutes. Michelle?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting for May 5th, which were circulated by email, and I've incorporated everyone's comments, and I circulated a final version of it as well.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's easy, it's approved. All right, Jeff, you're up.
Alrighty, thank you guys for having me. I was beckoned and requested. I'm going to give you guys an update first and kind of give you a rundown, then we'll take care of the questions that was brought up by Eagles Landing. So, as of 5/19/21, this is our update. Next slide, please. So, the network is fully configured at the tower. We have a gigabit circuit coming from the tower from our data center in Charlotte. We have been doing test runs with signal strengths around the tower. I want to reiterate that the CARES funding that was done is 300 homes in a 5-mile radius around that Lancaster tower where we have the equipment. There is a capability of providing services to 700 homes within a 5-mile radius. Like, remember I say capabilities because depending on terrain and depending on where those homes are and the size of the roofs and the different qualifying criteria, some of those homes will not be able to get services without having extra equipment put on it. So I want to clarify that. There could be an extra size mast that needs to be put on. It might need to have a repeater pole, and I think a lot of us understand that in this area, because of the tree coverage at 80 to 100 feet, if you're in a certain area where the terrain is lower or could be higher and you're not in the beam width and you don't get a decent signal of services, you're not going to be a qualified customer unless extra equipment is provided to get that home active. What we did as a company, we also acquired Signalwave, the local service provider here. Full disclosure, there was some issues with the owners, and they asked me to see what we can do to help them. So we did work out a deal where I am going to be acquiring their customers, but most importantly, a lot of their existing data poles that will help with the tree coverage issue to get us better signal around the area so that we can actually activate more customers.
Excuse me, Joe, I have a question. I understand, the 5-mile radius. There are a number of homes, especially those in more rural areas, that have longer driveways and the houses, you can see it, but it's down there. If that house is outside that 5-mile, it's not their fault that their house is 100 feet further than the range. Can they use some of this added equipment to increase it just that extra 50, 100 feet? Will any of that help them?
Honestly, absolutely. So wireless I'll say wireless is, when you do a proper wireless design, it is just like you're building a home, okay? You kind of need to make sure the foundation is built properly, and that's what we're doing right now, is making sure our foundation is built properly. We use 5-mile radius just because in the CARES application we said to optimize signal strength and not have to put too much extra equipment, and based on the heat maps that we did and the clutter data analysis, this was a decent, a recommended distance. The radios themselves will go 8 miles, they'll go 10 miles. You could have a clear line of sight and go 12 miles and get decent bandwidth.
Okay.
One of the things we're trying not to do is we don't want to provide anything less than 25 megabit speeds. It is very important to us. So in our designs, and that's directly relevant to how much signal you're receiving on the radio compared to what kind of bandwidth you can provide. So if a home is picking up 10 megabits because it's blocked and there's tree coverage, we're not going to, we don't choose not to provide that service unless a customer says, look, I'm okay with it, the 10 megabits and something we need. But, we are trying to make sure we can offer that 25 megabit package, going to 50 megabit and going to 100 megabit. For the purpose of the CARES funding, 25 megabits is what's required.
Right.
But to answer your question, yes, absolutely. It's all about the terrain. If that house is outside of 5 miles, we can provide service. If it qualifies to the heat mapping criteria that says this house will get 25 megabits.
Okay.
part of what we're doing right now is we are going around the tower, and I want to also reiterate, there's the CBRS radios. One of the things we did get is we have a CBRS license now, which will allow us to broadcast and beam and get a lot more coverage. CBRS is pretty much the only technology that's going to be working in the street coverage area of what you have in Lancaster. It is a rural, heavily wooded area, and you have to do a proper design to make sure you're putting the radios and you're utilizing the right equipment to get the bandwidth that you want to get at these homes. So, you know, on our testing criteria we've been doing, we found that our heat mapping was kind of off. So if we say that, Cassie, we're going to come and check your house, you know, Michelle, Sherry, we're going to check your houses, and the heat mapping is saying that you're supposed to get a negative 72 dBmV receive signal, and we're going out there and we're getting a negative 80. To me, that's an 8 dB difference. And that 8 dB difference is also the difference between services staying up and running properly or cutting down and having service problems for customers. I am not building this network to have service problems for customers. I am building it so that everybody who has a service is going to stay up and they're going to be happy with the services. So what we had to do is, after we did about 50 test point locations and saying, okay, we took that back to our engineering firm, and then we redid the calculations, and they came back and said, okay, you know, now we have real field data. What we had to do was we had to put some tilt on those access points. Instead of having them at 0 degrees, we had to up tilt some of them to accommodate what the design criteria would be. And that's what we did actually this morning that took place. So now we are actually going to go back and verify a lot more of the signal, make sure that problem was corrected, and then we're going to fully start installing.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Jeff, one question. You said you now have a license. Is that a priority access or is that a general access?
No, so general access, we can use anybody without a license. I have priority access CBRS license now. So that what we can do, and coming in, I think, June or July, we're going to be able to stack frequencies as well, which you can provide more bandwidth, 100 megabits if you want to, with the stack frequencies. So the license is also a key to us providing, you know, more of a robust kind of network.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff, if some of these customers that you're trying to reach within that 5-mile radius require additional equipment, what is the cost and who has to pay for that equipment?
So that's a good question. And if they're requiring additional equipment, so specifically what the CARES funding, and Don, I think we should just need to make sure we're on the same page with this. Specifically the CARES funding, where if you qualify for CARES, meaning that you can go and you were in that 5-mile radius, you were in an unserved area, and these locations do classify as unserved, but if it didn't require any extra equipment, because the extra equipment could range from putting $5,000 in a tower, you know, to get the height above the tree, or if you're in the heat map area where you just put the dish, the receive dish, that's no extra equipment. So as long as you can put a dish, you can get that cable run, and that dish is, without having to put anything extra, that's covered in the CARES funding. Because that was what was put in the cost criteria, not repeater sites, not extra towers, only just the dish, the cabling, the install. That's what the criteria is.
Right. And so will you be able to reach 300, or do 300 homes fit in that criteria?
Out of 700, we based our assessment on, yes, out of 700 homes, actually more than that, like 1,000 homes around that tower, that when we did the FCC and we actually did the unserved areas, according to the FCC blocks, there were 300 homes there.
No, I get that, but it sounds like you're having signal problems, which you've corrected now, you think, to some degree. Is it going to be a matter of time before you know if that correction is going to be able to hit 300 homes, or?
According to the heat mapping, and when we do the height AGL, above ground heights on the software, there is going to be 300 homes that can be hit. But some of them say, okay, you know, if you go 20 feet, the software is pretty detailed. So if you go 20 feet, and the roof is, 18 feet, yes, it says it'll get you a certain signal level. So according to the data, yes, there is 300 qualified homes, but they were going to require more testing. There might be require maybe a 5-foot mast on the side of the house. You know what I mean? Which is, if that's a small issue or something that's small aside from putting a dish, we'll make sure they get services, and that's the cost I'll cover on the extra equipment. Again, a nominal cost, right? I'm not going to put a $5,000 pole to get somebody, to cover for a $50 CARES package, but if it means a $30 pole that, an installer can get it done to go 5 feet higher than the roof, yes, we will get it done.
Okay, so we're just going to have to wait till your testing data's in to see
I
how it
think
does?
I would say we would wait a little, probably the next meeting I'll have a lot more data because I'll have a lot more installs done. It's not, the testing is we're just going to qualify what we did with the tower, and we're going to start the installs. But as we start getting, like if you have a block of homes, right here around the tower, we've done some testing and everything is just screaming, great service-wise and all that. So so we know maybe there's 15, 20 homes in this area that will get service, right, without any additional equipment. But there's also areas, again, prime example over here is that, there's a couple of homes in there that's on a higher level that, yes, a dish on a small mast will work, but there is also quite a bit of them that are actually sitting way low in the ground that, that is going to have some redirects and use the data poles that we have to get them service. So,
Okay.
so by the next board meeting,
Yeah, no, I mean, I just am concerned that we can meet the criteria of the CARES Act and hit the 300 homes without those people having to spend any additional money.
And I feel very confident in
Yeah.
that. Like I say, I feel confident in that 300 homes that being available in the coverage area, because the heat mapping does show that it will have 300 homes that will be covered without having any extra cost to the customer.
Okay.
Just can I ask a question? What if there's 150 homes that you could reach with that extra equipment, but the other 150 need extra equipment? I mean, I don't understand why someone would have to pay extra to meet that to get the service when the design was done ahead of time.
Well, the design calls, and it says, the design does say at a 300 homes minimum will actually meet those criteria.
Okay.
Again,
That's
based on cost.
that's if the engineering up front was accurate.
Yeah, and it was done, we qualified that engineering through the vendors to make sure that those heat mappings, and it's not just, a circle with saying, this is, these homes in this, around this tower, it's not like that. This is actual LiDAR data analysis that was done to qualify these homes. And it's actually, I'll tell you, one of the positive things is we're installing now in the summertime, so you don't have to worry about tree coverage and everything else, because as the winter comes around and you lose trees, you get better signal. But installing in the worst case scenarios, which is summertime, is probably the best.
Okay.
Next slide. Yeah, and this is what we're talking about with the heat mapping. If you look at, where the Lancaster tower is, and you look at the yellows and the greens, those are what LiDAR data says. In those pockets is where you get signal and service. If there's no yellow or green, and it also tells you signal strengths, right? So if there's no yellow or green, those homes are not going to get services unless you do a repeater site to ensure that you're going to get coverage in those areas. Our software and everything is very sophisticated. We actually can pull up a customer's home, look at the link. It'll tell us exactly, where on that home that receives this should be put, the signal strength is supposed to get, and so forth. So as long as we start doing our testing and we know that, our analysis, our install analysis is coming back correct, and it will be very accurate as to how we provide installs and get the installs done. Next slide. So one of the things, and Nick, this goes back to what you were asking to, understanding, and Cassie, this will help you too, is understanding that out of the 5-mile range, if there is, we're ultimately looking at incrementally increasing our customers, but it's just not going to be, by increasing customers. It's going to require, investment on my part for extra equipment, understanding the poles. Right now, by taking over the existing service provider, we do have, more techs on staff. We have building supervisors. We have contractors in the works ready to do installs. So we're ready to start deploying. I've just not pulled the trigger because I needed to make sure that everything is working 100%. Sir? One of the issues we did find, and this is what was corrected today, was the south radio was not broadcasting. That was fixed today. So the tilt, we fixed all those this morning. That's what I was talking about, causing misalignment of the heat maps for actual results. And we also want to make sure that, again, the signal strengths are matching with our link speed. So on our radio, we have links 7 miles away that are pulling in 100 megabits download and 50 megabits upload. And those are the links that's working fine. We want to make sure that all the radios and all the links are working to that same standard so that when we do installs, we're not going to have any issues with our customers complaining. Next one. That's it. So that's my update. I do, like I say, we will start our installs. We'll get some test customers up this week and let them run, but everything has been corrected as the issues we've been having. So after this, we're ready to rock and roll.
I know one of the questions that was brought up at the meeting 2 weeks ago was that when people were expecting somebody to come out and do an install or whatever on the 15th, and they didn't show and there was no call saying, sorry, this happened, have to reschedule. So I assume that problem's been taken care of.
That's been rectified,
Yeah.
as we've got a process now for, and the reason that was happening was because, we were doing our testing, and then if testing was going good, right, it would have been like, okay, those homes would have been installed, but then it wasn't going the way it was supposed to. Of course, it's, like everything else. But because of that, we did not get to the install, and then my customer service person was supposed to call them, but, reschedule. But again, that's been rectified. Just growing pains.
Yeah, so, my concern is, I'm glad that it's been rectified, but to me, I was really shocked to hear that you had scheduled service installs and then not shown up, and then rescheduled and then not shown up. And that, to me, is a big red flag because, who's managing that customer service, and you're not going to get people to sign up if the test, and this is for the test sites, right? And it's rude, unprofessional, and unacceptable, which I'm sure you recognize, and maybe you didn't even know it was going on, but that can have a direct impact on the number of customers who are going to want to show up, because if the people who are gracious enough to volunteer for this testing say, I couldn't even get them to come to my test site, and you would think that that would be like a priority. So I'm glad you got it rectified, and for the consumers, that's a very important issue.
We'll make customer service a number one priority,
Yeah.
honestly. So that, again, there's no excuse for it. I did not find out about it.
I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that.
Once I found out about it, there was hell raised, and like I say, it will be rectified. I'm not going to say there's not going to be any more issues or people will call, because you're always going to have people calling in with some one or two issues, right? But we will do our best to make sure everything is rectified, and that again, the positive word of mouth is out there to get to, for the services that's being provided.
There's always issues. That's how we manage them. And I think, to echo, I think everybody's feelings, we have to manage customer expectations here, because it's not just our money, it's not just your money, it's also the taxpayers' money that's being used for this. So we want to ensure that customers' expectations are met, and service quality is high.
Yep, agreed.
So Jeff, one more question, sort of in the customer service space. Is the information of what's available by BTS on your website with the pricing plans? I have to admit, I searched for it, and I was somewhat confused because there is a broadband telecommunications services in Texas, and then there's Broadband Telecom Services LLC, which is you, I believe. And when I go to that website, there's a lot of information about the relationship with Matthews County, but I don't see anything about services and how they're offered, the prices that they're being offered, the type of packages. Is that something that is available somewhere? Is it my research skills or?
No, you're right. I have it, I just have not put it on the website purposely because I need to make sure that my network is up and running. Because once I have it up and running, I'll post all we have the pricing packages and everything ready to go. But I just wanted to make sure that, again, we're ready to rock and roll and start getting installs and have a positive, positive support from the community before I start putting out there. Because I have radio ads ready to go. I have articles ready to go. I'm not going to put it out there until I know everything is working.
I was just going to ask you if you're going to find another way in addition to the website, because some of those potential customers don't have an internet capability.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So good, so you're going to have articles.
Yeah, we've already written up the radio ads. We have multiple sources. We're going to start blogging about it. But again, before I do any of that, I need to make sure it's working.
And we'd like to put some of that on our website too. So as you get it ready, just send it.
When we have the positive feedbacks, we're going to post as much as we can.
Good.
Okay.
Yes, and I would suggest that at least you make your website a priority as far as, I looked at it too, and I would have expected it to be changed by now. It's confusing, and I think right on the entrance door to the building here, is that where it's like, go to this website to sign up?
There was a sign there.
Yeah,
And there was something up there, and so there has been that, and I think I've seen it somewhere else too, like Googling it or something like that. And so if you have people go to the website to sign up, and you do see this Matthews County, it gets really confusing. And even if you were to do a simple page saying, coming soon, sign up information would be coming soon, I think that might help alleviate any confusion, because again, consumers, if they try now because they think they can and it doesn't make sense and they can't sign up, they might not come back. Whereas if, you make it clear to them, coming soon, something simple. Just my suggestion.
Point taken. You know what? I will take all your suggestions and, anything you guys can actually offer up. And this is our partnership between all of us, so I want to make sure everything
Well,
is
we want to see you successful in it, and so that's why I'm saying that.
much appreciated.
FYI for your press releases, the deadline is noon on Tuesdays if you want that week's paper.
Okay.
I got that one down pat.
Any other questions?
Cassie, is it appropriate for us to make some comments?
Well, if Jeff wants to take a comment.
These guys, I talk to these guys all the time, so absolutely.
I guess I have several comments. One, we worked with Dawn early on.
Chuck, turn the mic to you.
When we worked with Dawn early on, we established a test group. It was going to be 15 customers in the test group. Now, I'm one of the test customers, and Wally's another one, and I know several other ones, and none of us have been contacted. So I don't have any idea what's going on with the test.
And the reason for that is I still have to qualify with the changes and everything else. I don't want to say that I have to go to your house to check signal.
Right.
And if the signal is okay, yeah, well, absolutely.
Okay.
But I did not want to reach out to you until I know the signal is good.
All right. Then I have some contractual questions. I don't know if it's appropriate to deal with those here or...
Regarding Signalwave, I would not bring it up over here.
No.
First thing between-
No, this has nothing to do with Signalwave. This has to do with the CARES Funding Act. Is it appropriate to get into the...
Well, you can certainly ask your question,
Okay.
and we'll take it under advisement.
under the CARES, my understanding of the CARES Act, the criteria to qualify for the CARES Act was that you'd be the first 300 customers that signed up, first come, first served basis, would receive the CARES Act as long as they were in the unserved area. That's the end of the criteria. In there, it doesn't say anything about geographic. There's no cutout for hills, trees. It's very clear that they're supposed to provide service to all customers in the service area, within that 5 miles area, as long as the first 300. From what I'm hearing today, that's all changed.
We understand your concern. I think this actually goes back to a point that you raised earlier, Chuck, and correct me if I'm wrong. You asked the question of if for some reason somebody in the unserved area is one of what was originally defined as 300 is unable to be served by the provider that was supposed to serve the 300, will they be able to get service elsewhere? As we understand your concern. Let us talk about this. We'll get back to you with what you can expect in the future, but I think that you should not be concerned about getting service in the near term, because that's the commitment of the LCBA and the Board of Supervisors as well for the entire county. And if there's something unique to this particular contract, the 300, you're not going to be left out in the cold. There's a lot of different relationships operating or in the works right now, memorandums of understanding and contracts and funding. So if for some reason the original 300, like much of the mapping for the entire United States, as you know, the Federal Communications Commission is currently redoing the mapping. And it may be that the original 300 with the old FCC, I understood BTS relied upon the old mapping to come up with the 300. It may not have been correct, and with the Consolidated Act, Congress instructed the FCC to go back and improve that mapping, and if for some reason somebody falls out, it's going to be corrected here soon. There are many other providers coming into Lancaster County, and broadband is going to be made available to all of the unserved and underserved as quickly as possible.
Well, I understand that because we've been working this issue for years. My concern is we have a contract under the CARES Act, and it's very specific under there. And I think that Mr. Cornwell did a very good job in protecting the interests of the citizens of the county and the county itself. And I want to be assured that we're following the contract. Now, if you amended the contract, we need to know that.
No, the contract has not been amended. The contract, as you may not be aware, has simply been assigned. It's the original contract, and we're making it a priority to ensure that the contract and the benefit of the bargain is upheld. So at the same time, we also don't have much control over a provider's inability to use its technology to reach all individuals within a 5-mile radius.
Well,
so time will tell. We appreciate your concern. We understand it, and it's a priority, and we'll make certain that whatever needs to be done will be done for all the citizens of Lancaster County.
well, if there's anything we can do to help you, please let us know, because we've reviewed the elements and we think we understand them. And if we're confused, we'd like that clarified. And if we can help make sure that those terms and conditions are met, it's important for the citizens of our
We
county.
appreciate that very much. Just being here today and the several times that I've seen you in the short time I've been on this authority is very much appreciated, because enough people don't get involved. So thank you.
And I think it would be a fair thing to do is to wait and see how things turn out, because maybe it's not going to be a problem. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else for Jeff? Okay, we'll continue. You're going bye-bye. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Next item. On 25 March, the Board of Supervisors gave us an outline, mission, vision statements, et cetera, et cetera. We have proposed, created, drafted an answer to that outline. So barring anything more than, I think we have about 4 little edits, nothing substantial at all to complete, we're going to ask for a vote if we approve what has been drafted in response to that request for an outline.
I'll make a motion to approve the memo and its attachments.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Nicholas, you want to talk about the funding for APB?
Well, we're proceeding with the funding, just so kind of give you an update. We, with APB, we have a call with them on Monday regarding some of the mapping info we sent them, so we'll follow up with that. And we should be the first press release was prepared and approved by Cassie, and that should be coming out shortly to the press. But the one thing that we have to decide on is how do we fund the $575,000 match that the LCBA has to pay. I would suggest that we, if possible, we use the remaining CARES money if that's still available and acceptable to the county.
Don, do you have any?
Everybody's looking at me. That's,
I'm writing your name down right next to this.
I think the board has that very same intention, but I would like to say that the Board of Supervisors requests the Broadband Authority's presence for another work session at their next meeting, next Thursday night at 6 o'clock. You all can attend, preferably in person, but if you can't, we have the Zoom availability as well. You know, you all are your separate entity, but the Board of Supervisors gets bombarded a lot about broadband. We got bombarded at last month's meeting, and I had to answer, and if you read the paper, I hope I didn't say anything wrong.
You did a very good job. I read the paper.
In my answer. So, but I think the Board of Supervisors wants to make sure that everybody's on the same page. Hopefully, the press will be there for that 6 o'clock meeting and can get something in the paper about this as well. And regarding the $575,000, I think it's the board's intention to use CARES Act money to fund that. We just don't know when it's, I mean, do you have any idea when it's due? I mean, do we know a timeline?
No.
Right now, we don't, Ian,
Sorry.
and I'll find that out.
Next meeting.
Okay.
We haven't
I
got
figure
it.
we bring, put the bet early instead of later on, so it's not a short notice.
Yeah, we haven't got a scheduled meeting yet. They haven't come back for the next formal meeting that we'll have with them. And like Nicholas said, there is the phone call on Monday about mapping and stuff like that. So hopefully the next meeting will be soon. And on that press release, although we've approved it and APB approved it, has to go through Dominion, their communications team. I have no idea because I asked.
Yeah.
So if they've approved it, it'll go out. I made sure they knew about Tuesday by noon for the rap record, my favorite line. Okay. That's Thursday in your office?
No, it's going to be in this room at 6 o'clock.
Okay. Oh, not your office.
Prior to their regular meeting at 7.
And we can attend it by Zoom because I'm going to be in DC.
That's, if you're not going to be here, you know, we can Zoom you in for sure. And I imagine Nicholas won't be here, so he can Zoom in as well.
I would like to come down, but Don, unfortunately, I'm on a grievance board for taxes in my town, and it happens to be the day before that. So I do apologize for that.
Well, I figured you might have difficulty getting here, so, and Cherie may as well, I don't know, but.
Yeah, and I may be actually in the car during the meeting, so I can try.
Okay.
And you said you could participate by Zoom?
Yeah,
Nicholas?
it'll be available by Zoom. The board, you know, obviously would prefer in person, but I think everybody realizes that things happen. So,
Okay.
and there may be some you know, some issues like with Nicholas being so far away. So,
Yeah. As long as he can Zoom in.
as long as you can Zoom in and hear, it's not a problem.
Unfortunately, I gotta look at my big ugly mug on the screen. That's a downside.
No, it's not. Okay, I've got it 6 o'clock Thursday in here.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Anything else? Did you guys have anything, Cherie? Because we have a closed session, it's the last thing I have on the agenda.
No, I have nothing.
Michelle?
No.
Nope. Okay, that ends the public meeting.
Well, you have to say the whole,
We have to say the whole thing. We're going to go into closed session. I actually wrote it out. Per Section 2.2-3711A, Paragraph 29 of the Code of Virginia. Discussion of the award of a public contract involving the expenditure of public funds, including interviews of bidders or offerers, and discussion of the terms or scope of such contract, where discussion in an open session would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body. That's it. Nope. Nope. Bye.
can I go
Happy
too?
hour.
If you drive by my house and circle around to your house, you'll see me on the porch with a drink.
Is that an invitation?
Yeah. I'm stopping by.
I mean, we can end the Zoom? No, you can't end the Zoom.
We need Nicholas.
We need Nicholas, yeah.
Oh, you got it.
The way I set this up for them is as a webinar.
Oh, it's going to record. Oh,
I mean, if I'll leave it open for Nicholas, I'll leave it open for everybody.
Yeah, well, why don't we just call you, Nicholas?
I was just going to say, all right, Nicholas, I'm going to call you. Did you hear that? What happens if we
Yes,
leave it
I did.
open? All right,
He's trying
I'll call you.
Glenn is trying to talk.
let
Wait.
Glenn finish.
The only other thing that I can suggest is I can end the webinar and then start up another Zoom meeting and have Nicholas go into that Zoom meeting.
Well, that would be better. Did you hear that, Nicholas?
What's that?
He's going to end this Zoom and start up another one that would not be on the
Okay.
webinar, so you can participate.
Very good. So he'll send me the link.